You're listening to the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman, episode 37. So today we are in for a huge treat. We're speaking to someone who I've spoken about quite a lot. Obviously, I've written blogs around her, who is Denise Duffield-Thomas, all the way from Australia, but obviously via the beauty of Zoom. She's still in Australia, I'm still in England. So Denise, if you don't know her, which I'm sure you do, she is really well known for money mindset work particularly. I've been raving about her book Chillpreneur, which will also come to, but she's also written the books Lucky Bitch and Get Rich Lucky Bitch, both of which I've spoken about. But Denise, tell us a bit about yourself. I don't feel that intro is anywhere near adequate.
No, it's beautiful. And I really appreciate you having me here. So I help women with their money mindset. So I help people feel okay about money, feel okay about earning it, let go of the guilt around money, feel okay charging premium prices. And my underlying mission for that is that I want more money in the hands of women, because it's been shown statistically that when women have more money, it increases the fortune of the entire country. And so I think we can improve the planet with more women having more money. That's my mission.
I love that. And I think as well, something that comes over so well in everything that you do is the whole abundance thing, which I know we'll come to later as well. But, you know, it's because we all, the whole having more money thing doesn't mean we're taking it away from other people, which I think is a really positive thing, and something that when people talk about money blocks, it's probably something that you hear a lot about as well.
I do. And it's funny, all the women who I know who would actually do amazing things with their money, spend it in beautiful ways, they're the ones who are the most scared about earning it and feeling like there's something bad about making money. Whereas those people would never do evil, bad things with their money. So it's like a problem that doesn't exist, but yet we're the ones who stress about it and feel guilty about it and all of those things. And so my job is just to help people feel okay about charging people for what they do and okay earning money in their own businesses. And you will be the same person, just with more money.
Yeah, absolutely. But obviously you haven't always had this outlook, have you? So can you talk to us a little bit about how you started in your business? Because we've got quite a lot of small businesses who will listen to this.
Well, I actually started my first business in London when I lived in London. So I lived in the UK for 9 years. And so what happened was I was in my early 20s living in London, and I thought, I would like a boyfriend. I'm going to go on internet dating. So I started internet dating, and I went, okay, I'm going to make this a marketing project. I am going to do this like a marketing funnel. And I also realized that the men were crap at internet dating. You know, like they had crap pictures. They just didn't know how to present themselves well. So I thought, I'm going to write a book about it. And that was my first real business as a grown-up. I thought, I'm going to be an internet dating coach. So I wrote this book, and back then, this was 2004, 3 or 4, you couldn't really sell things online very easily. So I actually had to find someone who was like an ebook publisher. I had to pitch myself as an ebook publisher, because I couldn't take money. All I could do was say, oh, here's my bank account. You know, there wasn't really PayPal. There wasn't, how was I supposed to get the PDF ebook to them? We just didn't have the tools that we have now. So I had to pitch myself to this ebook publisher, and they took on my book. And I think I made about £1,000 out of it, which I was stoked, but so happy. But then I thought, where do I go from here? I don't want to coach people. I don't want to start this as a business. I don't want to do group coaching programs. So I realized that really wasn't my business. Then I loved going to the movies, and I don't know if they still do this, but I had a membership, and I could go unlimited cinema pass. I don't know if you guys still do that in the UK. So I went to the movies like 4 times a week, and I thought, well, that's my business. I'll do a movie reviews blog. And then I sat there and I thought, I don't want to take notes. I just want to enjoy the movie. And then I started a raw food blog, and I started all these businesses. I wasn't really doing the thing that I really wanted to do. And that's my first kind of clue with a lot of entrepreneurs, is that they really have a dream for what they really, really want to do, but they have a lot of practice businesses along the way because they don't feel confident enough to charge for that. For me, it's really funny. I just wanted to inspire and motivate people, but I didn't think that was a job, and I didn't think people would pay for that. And that's pretty much what I do now.
So, yeah, absolutely. Which is amazing. And say what you used to do and all the sort of transitions. Obviously now you live in Australia as well. And I know I'm sure it was Lucky Bitch when you talked about the flat you used to live in London versus obviously going through the kind of journey to where you live now, and just the shift in everything is really, really incredible. So obviously you now really specialize in money mindset, and I know you talk about the term money blocks a lot. So can you explain what a money block is and how you see entrepreneurs having them and dealing with them?
So a money block is anything that stops you from making the money that you want to make. For a lot of people, though, they don't see it as a money block. They think it's an external thing to them. So it might be thinking, oh, all my clients, just always asking for freebies, or I'm always getting all these brain pickers, or you run your business thinking you have to do everything yourself. So often that's an underlying money block or a belief that you have to work really hard to make money. So that underlying belief means that you act in ways that perpetuate that by refusing to delegate, reinventing the wheel all of the time, burning yourself out. Or one of the ways that can manifest is by doing a job or a business that you shouldn't be doing, or isn't your zone of genius. So a money block can be a story, it can be a belief. I find that there are definitely some universal ones. So the work hard thing is definitely there. I would say it's stronger in America than it is in other countries, because they have a very hustling, work hard culture. In Australia, we've got this sense of fairness. That is one of our country's values, fairness and equality. So people actually feel bad about making more than other people or shining too much. Now, I would love to hear, even from the work that that I do, what do you think it is in England? What do you think is your collective cultural money block, or one of them?
Oh, I think that's a really good question. I think that we are always kind of apologetic. And whether that's, oh, I'm really sorry, but it's this much money, or we're expecting to be met with, oh, it's too expensive, or I can't afford that. And then that makes us feel bad. And and I think we always just think, oh gosh, I'm so sorry, like it's our fault. And obviously it's not, but I think that we're just quite an apologetic people, although we haven't really done anything.
I really appreciate that you shared that. And I think there's something there too. Some English people really struggle with marketing because it feels like having to put yourself out there, and almost like, oh, I'm sorry I'm coming into your inbox. I'm so sorry I'm sending you this newsletter. I'm sorry that I'm offering you something. So I think that's brilliant. And I think anyone listening, if you live in a different country than what we've talked about, be aware that there are definitely universal money blocks, but then there are cultural money blocks. There are also even industry money blocks. So I find that, say, for example, you're in the health industry, you're a health coach, or you're a naturopath or a dietitian. There's this real collective money block that you shouldn't make money out of people's bad health in a way, or you're exploiting them rather than helping them. If you're in the spiritual community, there's a whole sense of you shouldn't charge for spiritual gifts. You should do this for free. If you're in the non-profit sector, you struggle with that too. So there's, it's really interesting, the macro and micro money blocks. And then you have to look at your family money blocks. Sometimes you have been inherited money blocks from your grandparents, because of maybe they grew up in the war, and then you're living this way based on their money blocks. Or a lot of people have family mottos as well. So I'd love to hear too, if you think you've got a family motto, and I'll tell you mine. Our family motto was, it's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. And so that sounds really lovely. But then I was like, well, it's not nice to ask people for money, and it's not nice to want to be successful in business, because then you're trying to be important, and you should be nice rather than important. So that was mine. And I'd love to hear if you've reflected on that yourself to see if you've got some family stuff around.
I think that we don't have a motto as such, but my parents and their parents were always seriously hard workers, as in my dad, when I was growing up, I didn't really see him much because he was at work before I woke up, and when I went to bed he was still at work, and he worked incredibly hard. I was really lucky that I went to private school, but my mum had to go and get a job to fund me through that. So and not don't get me wrong, I was incredibly grateful, and she was very grateful, not grateful to do it, but she was also very happy to do it and to provide and help. But it's all it's hard work to make money. You've got to really work hard to make money. So I completely get that. I think you touched on a really good point earlier as well, when you said about people feel funny about if they're giving health advice. I think as well as business owners, we can feel funny about charging for something that we enjoy. So if you like doing things, I work with a lot of photographers. They love taking photos. They're skilled at it. And I think it can feel quite strange, not strange, but it's a block, isn't it? Because they love it. So people kind of think, well,
or something that's easy for them. Yes, that's the hard thing. So I actually had this experience with a photographer a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's worthwhile telling you guys because he was actually working at the event that I was speaking at. So it wasn't my event, but I knew him very well. He's worked with me. And I was feeling good. I had nice hair, nice outfit. And I said, oh, Dan, when you finished at the conference, can you just take a photo with me outside? Because there's an amazing car and I would love to, get a photo in front of it. He's like, yeah, sure, of course, Denise. So we went out. He went click, 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 click. It was a minute worth of clicking. And I said, oh, great, send me an invoice. He goes, oh, no, don't worry. I'm not going to send you an invoice. It only took a minute. And I said, no, I'm going to use these photos. I'm so appreciative. Send me an invoice. So he goes, oh, okay. So he sends me an invoice. It was for $46.50. And I was like, damn. So first of all, I said, well, look, that's a really inappropriate amount. I'm going to use these photos. These are beautiful photos. And sometimes you can pay thousands for a photo shoot and only get one photo anyway, right?
Was it the one in your jumpsuit?
Yes, this is the most recent one.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a great photo. And
gorgeous.
I mean, I think he gave me 10 photos and I can use 2 or 3 of them because you don't always get every shot. I'm like, I don't like that angle of me. But for an impromptu photo shoot, I'm going to use those photos so much. So I said, look, how about $250? And he goes, oh, no, I can't. It only took me 10 minutes to edit them. And I said, yes, but yes, it was easy. Yes, it's enjoyable. Yes, you like me, all of those things. But this is years of your skill set and having the best equipment. And, all of those things go into creating this shot. And the value for me is priceless. So he goes, okay, well, let's meet in the middle at $100. And I said, well, I've already paid you $250. So just send me an invoice for $250. But it was just such a great example of where we discount the years of learning that got us to be able to do something quick and easy. Yeah. He has been working as a photographer and a videographer for years. That's why he can do it in 10 minutes, 1 minute really. And he deserves to be paid for that. So I think you hit it where it's it's fun, it's easy, it's my God-given gift, it's whatever. None of that deserves to be paid for. Exactly, all of those things. So, or you think, oh, well, I can enjoy it, but then I have to work really hard at it. Or I can enjoy it, but I have to undercharge. So, yeah, it's very complex, I think. But most of it's just the awareness of why we're doing what we're doing. And a lot of that comes back to our family. It comes back to our industry. It comes back to feeling like we don't deserve it.
So how do you, as a business person, as an entrepreneur, get over these blocks? Is just being able to see it half the battle?
Yes. Yeah, I would say that's 80% of it. But the last 20%, that's the tricky bit. Okay. So that's where you have to be surrounded by people in that conversation. So you need to make sure you've got mentors, business buddies, mastermind buddies that you can have those conversations with, because it's going to come up again and again. Don't just fix your money blocks. You don't put a Band-Aid on it and it's solved forever. I'm still working on my money blocks in different aspects because my business changes and grows. And so there's new opportunities to find new money blocks, or old money blocks usually. So the 20% means you have to do some internal work. You have to use personal development tools. You sometimes have to have a coach. You have to invest in yourself. You have to be surrounded by people who are in that conversation. And you also have to take action. If you've discovered that you've got a block around charging people, well, you have to increase your prices.
Sure.
You have to put boundaries in place. You have to say no when someone asks you to pick their brain or to undercharge for something. You have to push back if someone's trying to scope creep working with you. So it's 80%, honestly. Most people fear doing that and really looking at their blocks, but it's the last 20% that really makes the difference.
And that makes perfect sense. I think that's what you're talking about is when you're saying about this whole thing about having to work really, really hard. And actually in your new book, which is amazing, you're very much talking about the more chilled way of life, and it's kind of working smarter, not harder, although I know it's a bit of a buzzy saying, but really thinking about how you use your time. How did you get to that point in your life when you could kind of take a step back? 'Cause I think that's something you're really, really good at, being able to take a step back and look at a situation.
So for me, that has come from, I'm naturally a little bit of a lazy person. So that's where it's come from for me. And then I teach it to other people who might not be naturally that way inclined. I've always been like that as a kid. So I remember, your mum would send you off to clean your room, and I would sit there and read a book, and then just the last 2 minutes just go and just try and find the shortcut to things. I was like that at work. I managed to kind of find ways in my job to do most of my work in 2 hours, and then I could just bum around the rest of the time. I'm not someone who hustles for the sake of working more. I hustle so I can work less. And then there's been times in my life where I've had to learn to do that. So for example, when I started having kids, I can't work at this pace anymore. And then what can I do? Okay. So I'm all about tweaking and finding ways to make things easier. I also started doing it from a place of, I guess just ease. Like when I started batching up videos.
Yeah.
I was like, I've got good hair and makeup. I'm not just going to do one video. I'm going to do 5. Then I can schedule them out ahead of time and I don't have to think about it. I once hired a studio, made it look like my lounge room, and did a year's worth of blog post videos.
Wow.
And that was really great fun. And I just thought, wow, what else can I do to make things easier for myself?
No, that's a really, really, really good point. The batch working, we did an episode a few ago about batch working and how actually that can make you so much more efficient and actually take a lot of pressure off yourself, because you're not having to think, oh my God, I've got to get a video out this week, or I've got to do a blog post, or I've got to take some pictures. You've already got them in advance, which can really ease the load a lot.
Yes, I'm a big fan of batching, by the way. I think it's just so magical, and it's one of those things that's so simple, but when you allow yourself to do it, it really fills the gaps of effort. And there's a block that comes up around this. So let me just talk to that for a second, because if you're a mom, or if you've got chronic illness, or you've got energy that goes up and down, or if you're looking after parents, or we've all got things in our lives that mean sometimes it's really hard to be consistent. So I would say use the inspiration when you have it, and then schedule it. So blog posts are a great idea. If you've got the energy, create it and then drip feed it out. Here's the block that I've heard a lot of times about this, is people go, well, it needs to be fresh for my audience. And my answer to that is, it's fresh for you when you created it. It's none of your business when your audience consumes it. It will be fresh to them. So we've got to take it off what's, it's selfish for me to do it like this, and just go, well, you know what? My audience will love that because I put that energy into it at the time.
Absolutely.
And they will receive that when it's convenient to them.
Absolutely. And I think as well, as you say, that's a real kind of excuse. Well, not an excuse, it's a block, but it's something that would stop someone going off and being creative, because they're thinking, actually I can't do it now because I don't need it for a few months or a few weeks. Whereas actually they're going to do their best work when they're in that zone of genius, when they're feeling that energy and doing that way.
Absolutely. I remember Marie Forleo used to have a mastermind. So she's an amazing business coach. And my friend was in her mastermind and they got one call each month. And she scheduled them all on the same day. And I remember thinking, that's so smart. She can do all of her client calls in one day, like have one big energy, get in the zone of it. And then that's it. She doesn't have to do it for the rest of the month. And I just thought, that's amazing. Like, that's such an amazing role model of she could spread those out over the whole month. Oh, when do you guys want to have it? When do you guys want to do it? And instead it's like, no, this is when it is, and you book in on that day.
Yeah. Again, I think something that we as thinking of the block side, we go, oh, but it might not be convenient for them. Oh, I want to make life easier for them. Whereas actually you might be really hindering yourself through doing that. And it might not be a massive inconvenience for that person if they know that they're the parameters, they're the rules that you're working to.
Absolutely. Yes, we often think too, oh, the customer's always right. My business has to be designed to work for my customers. But it can't, because you can only offer what you can offer. And I'm doing a book tour at the moment. I'm organizing a book tour, and they're during the day, during the week, because I'm best during the day. And also it doesn't work for my family to be away on the weekend. So a few people have pushed back and said, well, I work during the day. And I'm like, well, so do I. This is my work. This is my work. And it's either this or nothing, because this is all I can offer. And not everyone's going to love that. But where I see people will make the mistake is that they try and be everything to everyone. No one person's really happy anyway. And they pull themselves, in knots, trying to be everything to everyone, instead of saying, this is what works for me. The people who like that will be attracted to it. Everyone else, there are other people who can serve them.
Yeah. And again, I think that's something that so many of us don't appreciate, or we feel like that might be the thing, but it's too scary to do that, because what happens if people don't go along with us and we have no money, and it sort of sets it all off again, doesn't it?
Scarcity, exactly, of like, oh, I mean, there are so many clients in the world. Each business owner only needs a very tiny percentage of that. But we feel like, oh, if I don't do this, nobody will work with me. And actually the right people will work with you. And it's very attractive when you work with someone who's got strong boundaries, or who appreciates their own work. And you attract people who appreciate that too. The flip side of that is, if you don't honor yourself and appreciate yourself, you often attract people who do that to you, who reflect that to you and overstep boundaries, or are never even happy in the first place every time you give them everything.
So I think all of this really leads nicely up to your new book, which is incredible. And I have got 2 to give away when this podcast goes out. I mean, I've actually purchased 2. I'm not stealing them from you. I've got one that that it's such a good book, and it really is making me think about things and just showing that side, because it's not like you're giving a theory that you haven't tried and tested. So what inspired you to write all the book and put all of this into one manual for people who are kind of burnt out and so used to the message of hustle, 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 harder, harder, harder?
Well, I started writing it after my second baby was born, and I started reading all the books that had been piling up. I thought, oh, I'm on maternity leave. I can read all these business books I've been waiting for. And book after book, I just thought, this is written for a man with no kids. Oh, this is written for a man with no kids. Or I thought, I just don't want to hustle like that anymore. I'm tired, and I don't think it's good for me to work like this anymore. So I actually got really turned off business books, and I was feeling really bitter about it, until I realized, well, we need to write our own books.
Yeah.
We need to write the books that we need to hear. And so I can't complain that there's not a book that tells me, oh, it's okay to work less. There's more now. I've found that at the moment there seems to be this groundswell of simplifying and ease. And I love that all these books have come. I love that my book has come out at the time, because obviously 3 years ago, all of us had the same idea, which is brilliant. That's what inspired it for me. I just thought, I can't work like this anymore. I'd written a lot of the themes in the book are things that I've been writing about for a couple of years. So it was just a way of bringing together a lot of those threads that I'd been talking about with my clients, or even people on my money boot camp, But in my money boot camp, every time a business thing came in, I thought, no, we're keeping this about money boot camp. We're keeping this about money. So I wanted a place to talk about some of the marketing stuff that I love talking about, and some of the business structure and how I run my business. And just to put it all in one place. And I'm thrilled that other people like it as well, but I kind of wrote the book for myself.
No, I mean, it's amazing. So I'm part of your book club community, your Facebook group. And actually before this, I saw you were doing a live in there, and the comments were just flying up. I don't know how you kept up with it, but the comments were flying up, the numbers were growing, and people were so supportive and so into the book. And I think it's helped so many people, which must be really lovely from your point of view as well, that your advice is actually changing people's lives.
It's so gratifying. I can't even begin to tell you. Someone reached out to me on Instagram, or maybe it was even in the group, and said, the tip that you put in about having a VIP skip the queue service for people who want. Yes. And she put that into place, and she gave me the screenshot of her sales page. And there was just something, I just got a little chill, because I just thought, oh my God, I wrote something down in the book and someone put it into action. And she said, people are jumping into the VIP option. And I just thought, it just felt so good to know that that happened, and that she generated extra income from a tip that I put in a book. It feels so great.
But I mean, the book is packed with really good tips like that. And that one was basically, you have a certain turnaround for your work. And if people want that to be quicker, they pay an extra amount, and then you're VIP, and they get that pushed through. So it takes the pressure off you. But when you do that work, you get paid appropriately for it.
Exactly. Because so many of us have crappy boundaries. So someone says, well, I need it today. And you go, oh, okay, let me work for you. Not realizing that so many industries charge a premium for that, even if it's easy for us. You know, Dan, the photographer who did that shoot, he could have said, hey, look, this is a premium turnaround service. I would have gone like, totally my fault for not being organized. You're doing this for me really quickly. And he sent the photos to me in like 3 days. I would have been like, no problem. Because we're used to that at the post office.
Yeah.
We're used to that. In almost every industry, we pay for speed and efficiency and to jump the queue. We do this at Disneyland. And for some reason, we think in our own businesses that people are allowed to take the piss basically and not have to pay extra for it. So yeah, I love that idea.
I mean, it is a really, really superb book. I'm still reading it, but I read a few pages and feel instantly inspired as well, because I think that when you are working so hard in your business and you feel like it's really easy to feel overwhelmed in any business, I think, when you work so hard at it. But when you read something like Chillpreneur, which is kind of saying, well, actually, there is another way, and we can all make minor tweaks, which is something that I've really picked up from all your books, is it's not always the big, huge things that change the game. Like in Lucky Bitch, when you talk about how you won your around the world trip, it was all little tiny steps and little things you did to stack the odds in your favor. And like with Chillpreneur, it's little things that can just change the game completely, like the VIP tip. It's just little things, isn't it, that can really make
it is little things over time too. Yeah. So it's, even if every week you tweaked one thing, and I still have to tweak things all the time, just one thing a week would be enough that you're moving forward and creating a business that really works for you and your personality.
No, definitely. As I said, I've got 2 books to give away. So when this comes out, that giveaway will be running for a week. And I will be doing lots of shouting about that as well. But tell everyone where they can find you on all the places, because they're going to want to.
Yes. So my website is denisedt.com. And that's all my handles as well. Keyless life, right? Make it easy. So Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all Denise DT. I hang out on Instagram the most. So always what I say when I'm on a podcast interview is to say to people, take a screenshot of the podcast logo, tag us both, tag me at Denise DT, tell us an aha, Don't just DM me because, be accountable, tell everybody. But tell us what you're tweaking from this conversation, or tell me what you're tweaking after reading Chillpreneur. So Chillpreneur has actually got its own little website. It's just at chillpreneur.com, but you can get it all the places that books are sold, Kindle and Audible and paperback and hardback, actually.
And Amazon. I mean, I know when I book mine on Amazon, there's loads of options on there. You can get different versions, and Audible is amazing. I've got your Get Rich Lucky Bitch on there, which I'm going to get Chillpreneur very shortly on there too.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of people have it in multiple formats, which I love, right? But it's, you might want to listen to it and have a paper copy to write notes in, whatever works for you. But just remember, it's not about making massive changes overnight. Sometimes it's making just those tweaks that will send you in a completely different direction and just create more and more enjoyment and joy for you in your business.
No, definitely. Thank you so much for speaking to me. I cannot wait to share this episode with everybody. It's been so lovely.
Thank you.